I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Johnny Smith.
And this is Smith and Sniff. It's a podcast where two friends talk about cars and many other things.
Okay, I had to escape. The city was sticky and cruel. Maybe I should have called you first, but I was dying to get to you. I was dreaming while I drove the long straight road ahead.
What? Hang on, whoa,
I could
no.
taste your sweet kisses. Your arms were open wide.
This is not the copyright infringement hour. Stop.
We can do this.
No, you're infringing copyright.
No, we're not.
Yeah, you
I'm
are.
quoting.
You're reading out someone else's work.
I'm quoting.
Orbison will rise up from the grave and smote you with his sunglasses of justice.
Look, I drove all night to get to you. Is that all right? I crept in your room. I woke you from your sleep. Yeah, there's sinister undertones then, especially if you got the wrong house.
Yeah. He holds the note in that for a long time, doesn't he, as he gets towards the end?
Yeah.
He drove all night. Yeah. And all the rest of the band have popped out to go and get
they've got a tab on the back. Do you know why I've started this podcast with that? It's
Go on.
That song came out 30 years ago.
Did it?
It's his 30th anniversary, but he was dead 5 years previous or 4 years previous to that.
What? Oh.
Yeah.
Was it a posthumous release?
He recorded it in 87 and it got released in 92.
Yeah.
And the music video, I can't really remember the music video, but I think it was that era in the late 80s, early 90s when lots of 50s American cars appeared in every music video. You know what I mean? So like, because it was 30 years ago from the 90s, 50s cars were like the thing.
That's right.
But
yes, I remember that.
But lyrically, I've always found it a little bit creepy. And also, when I look up IMDb Roy Orbison, no disrespect to the man, because obviously was a fantastic musician, but he looks like someone going to a fancy dress party as Roy Orbison. You know what I mean?
But that's what happened to Elvis, isn't it? Elvis turned into a fancy dress version of himself, and it's quite tragic. But
it is a little sad.
No, we're not going to disrespect the big O, but I know what you mean.
But he drove. The other thing is, what's the saga, Richard? He drove all night, despite the fact that he was only 40 miles away from his destination. He just had a terribly unreliable car. There's so much shit to contend with.
No, I think it's because he was wearing sunglasses at night and it was impossible for him to see road signs or indeed major junctions. He kept just going around the M25. And
he had a heavily tinted out car that was possibly illegal. Basically like driving around with your eyes closed. Had so many fender benders on the way home.
Oh yeah, he was just, sometimes he'd be like, there's be a grazing noise and he realised he was just scuffing down the Armco on the outside lane near junction 12. No! Oh, shit.
And the other thing is, just to add insult to injury, managed to have loads of sort of minor panel damage all the way back. But just as he was going up the cul-de-sac, the cam belt went. So he had to leave the car at the bottom of the cul-de-sac, and it was pissing with rain. So that last sort of 100-metre walk with quite a heavy bag because he'd been away for a while, and he was muttering to himself. So it went almost from romance to sort of anger.
Or just life admin, just personal nuisances.
Yeah, he kicks the car, he slams the door shut. Probably
he doesn't even lock it. He's secretly hoping someone will steal it, even though he knows the engine's now seized solid.
Yeah, and he's hustling this really large Samsonite case. Yeah, but then he crept in the room and woke somebody from a sleep to make love to them, and then realised it was actually his mother-in-law. He was in the wrong room, and it's all very, very awful.
Crept in your room, woke you from your sleep to ask where you keep the details for the RAC cover that I thought we still had, but I'm not sure.
Green flag.
Yeah. Also, sorry, before you go to sleep again, can you remember... Is it a non-interference engine on those? Because I'm a bit worried I might have bent some valves because the cam belt is definitely it's gone. Yeah. It's gone. It rather implies, though, that it's not. I was sort of initially picturing one of those kind of late 50s Cadillacs.
Oh,
like not the full, like a Coupe, would it be a Coupe de Ville, but not the full finny one. Just when they developed little stubby.
Oh, so that would be
fins.
61, 62 would have been a nice era for that.
I know, because that had gone through the fins were sort of 50. When was peak fin? 59.
59 was peak fin. Yeah.
I'm thinking like sort of pre that, like a 54 55 or something, or even something more modest like a Tri-Chevy.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so just sort of like at Elvis's favourite era of Cadillac, sort of 56, 57.
This is what I've just 55. A 55. What have we got here? These are nice cars.
Oh, well, then a cam belt is irrelevant.
Well, it's because that'll be all chains on a big old V8, won't it?
Yeah.
So it's something else has gone wrong. He probably hasn't checked the oil ever in the time that he's owned the car. That's
true. It was running low anyway, but when he clocked off work and he just thought, I'm going to just get in and drive all night. I've filled it. I'm doing 100 all the way back in a really wallowy airbed of a car.
I believe the original version of that song that towards the end he changes the lyrics, so it's I ignored the lights. And that explains why the engine suddenly locked solid.
He locked the engine, and also all the way back, the car was slightly crabbing, and he's realised there were 8 psi on one of the back tyres, so it was ever so slightly listing. And he was just constantly correcting, but of course that tyre was getting ever so hot, so he could have suffered a burn, a blowout. But
with the weight of that car as well, Jesus! I mean, it's a little known fact about Roy Orbison that he was a very sloppy when it came to basic maintenance.
Oh yeah,
his, 1955 Cadillac.
Yeah.
Just look at these Cadillacs; they're glorious, aren't they? It's a Series 62 coupe or a coupe.
I don't understand why.
I
don't understand why people that can afford like a collection of cars, like a variety of cars. I never understand why they don't have a car of that era in there, an American car, because they are full apartments on wheels. They are glitzy, OTT, really well made, really well made.
I was going to say, they look sturdy, like they're probably quite simple, aren't they? But put together reasonably well, so that you know, as long as you are better than the Big O at checking the oil and things, it'll just run forever. But have you driven one of these kind of things?
I've driven actual Ecto 1.
Oh,
I've driven one of the screen original Ghostbusters Ecto 1s, which was colossal. It's 22 feet long, I think it was.
Because I look at these cars
with Derek Acora in the passenger seat, but that's another story. Seriously.
See, like Roy Orbison, you could wear sunglasses at night because you've got a Cora with you and he claims to be able to see what's coming, so he could warn you.
Yeah.
Is Derek Acora dead?
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, and he is. Sudden earlier than us. Yeah. No, it was a fun day, fun shoot, but yeah, I've never owned, let me get this right. No, I've never owned a 50s American car. I've owned 60s and 70s American cars, and actually 80s, but never 50s. But the guy rebuilding or assembling my Chevy Impala, Simon Browse, he's got a brace of them. His favourite era is 56. He has 4 56 Cadillacs.
Wow.
And gorgeous cars, but a very, very expensive car to restore because there's so much chrome. And
and it's all like an inch thick.
His chrome bill for a 2-door convertible was $9,000. That's the chrome bill.
Holy shit!
That's the chrome bill. Yeah, not even the paint. Well, of course, when you're booking it into a body shop for paint, they just look at the acreage and go, "Oh shit,
we're going to need a bigger booth."
Yeah, we're going to need a bigger booth. Yeah, it's exactly.
But I'm looking at this. There's a 55 Coupe de Ville here, and I'm looking at it. It's black. It looks mega, but I'm also thinking that's one of those cars that's going to drive exactly how it looks. So incredibly soft,
ever so soft.
Very, very assisted steering. I'm imagining by then.
Yeah, you could be on full lock, on full understeer, and you had no idea. Like the tyre.
You know when you go to the dentist and you have your face anaesthetised on one side.
Yes.
And then it's quite odd because you could basically pour a red hot cup of coffee into that side of your mouth and not feel it, and it's a bit weird, that sensation. Or you can touch your face, but it feels like it's not your face. And I imagine driving that car's like that. It's full anaesthetic.
It would be anaesthetic. It would be, but a beautiful aesthetic anaesthetic. Yes, it would be. That's what.
I don't know why. I've never really considered these cars as something that I would lust after particularly. I like that they exist, but I'm looking at one of those now and going, bloody hell, that looks great. I mean, they're probably impractically big for Britain even now.
Well, they're huge. They're huge. Yeah, but they're sort of. I think they're tastefully huge. I think other American cars of the same size, you kind of people go. You know, they get annoyed by them because they just think they're silly. But obviously the 50s was just such a special era for the sort of jet age styling.
Yeah, and I look at that and I go, I bet that's a car that people like. That's a sort of universally liked car.
Yeah.
People would enjoy seeing that. As long as you just drove about as yourself, being normal. I'm always a bit weirded out by people who have 1950s hairstyles.
Oh, what, you dress to match the car era?
Yeah, you know that, is it called like a DA or so? That the big quiffy, but then all brill creamed back to a sort of split at the back of the head.
It's the duck tail.
The duck back end. Yeah. And I always just an adult man in 2022 who has that hairstyle arouses suspicion in me. I don't.
What about hang on, film reviewer Mark Kermode, not Mark Kermover. I was going to call him Mark
Kermover.
No, Mark Kermode, who's renowned for his craft. I think he's well into his sort of 50s appearance. Yeah,
he's a bit, isn't he? And so is Mark Lamar.
Oh, very much so. And years ago, pre Harry Squatter, Robbie Coltrane, very much. And again, he used to drive around in Cadillac. And my friend Simon, who's rebuilding my Chevy, his dad used to know Robbie Coltrane because of pre-internet Cadillac ownership.
Oh,
yeah, they used to order bits and stuff together or find bits, because if you had a 50s Cadillac in the UK and you were driving it regularly, which Robbie did, you needed to know the grapevine fairly well.
Robbie Coltrane once called me a cheeky wee shite.
Did he?
Yeah,
I bet it was charming though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was really charming.
No, I was at a thing with him, and he was very, very funny, very good company. But there were a load of us around the dinner table, and he was sort of holding court, being very, very funny and very entertaining, as you'd hope. But I'd had a couple of glasses of wine, and I was feeling a bit like a cheeky wee shite.
You were
so
just
I was
young, weren't you?
Yeah, I was young. I was quite young, and I was giving it a bit of yap back and doing a bit of interjection and stuff. And in the end, he went, "Oh, you cheeky wee shite," in a very affable way. He was nice. He's a really nice guy and loves his cars. And we talked a lot about old American cars, funnily enough. So.
Did you? Yeah, I've never met the bloke, but I probably wouldn't talk about Hagrid because I don't know anything about it.
No, I think he'd rather talk about American cars, though.
I would definitely rather talk about 55 Cadillacs, yeah.
He told me he bought something that had sort of like a suspiciously low mileage on it, and he wasn't sure that it was legit, and he thought maybe it had been restored and bodged a bit, and he took it to the guy that looked after it. And I just remember him telling this story because he was like, and then he came out of their workshop and he's going, "Robbie, it's not restored, it's a new fucking car," which I thought was quite good. And I could always remember that it's a new fucking car, and sort of repeating it over and over again. That's clean as a whistle underneath. It's a new fucking car, Robbie.
Clean as a whistle.
A wessel.
I just want to finish the Roy Orbison thing by thinking I could imagine like a traditional greengrocer shop or a furniture shop, and the sign above the door says Roy Orb and Son, because I always used to think it was.
But then, where were you on the Football Manager Bobby Robb and Son?
Bobby Robb and Son. Well, there we go. Bobby Robb actually sounds better than Bobby Robinson.
And now the Cast the Star with Quentin Will and Son.
Well, Quentin Wilson could be 3 L's, 2 S's, and he could be very Swedish. Couldn't he?
Quentin
Wilson. And he goes, on this week's The Cars the Star, another historical report on Saab.
Yeah, Quentin, can we do something else? No, I'm not aware of any other cars.
Oh yeah, that's right, cars. Very. Yeah, I think there could be a Scandi Wilson about. Could be quite funny, couldn't it?
I've got the bargain of the century. Is it a Volvo 740 again, Quentin? Yes.
Still cheap. Still good.
Still cheap.
Still good.
See as a blank check. Anyway, now look, guys, I wanted to bring this sort of moderately up to date. We could talk all day about 50s American cars and 90s Roy Orbison hits, but I wanted to talk about the Lotus Electra.
Ah, yes.
Because you've seen it. You had a sneaky preview.
Yeah. Had a good look round it.
watched your Late Break Show vid in which you talked to what's his name, Ben Payne, the boss of the
off of the design and all that.
Yeah, Coventry Design Office where they designed it. I went to the official launch last week at what they kept referring to as BBC Television Centre, and I wanted to sort of go, no, stop, it's not the BBC's anymore. They sold it, that's the whole point. But they kept saying, we're here live at BBC Television Centre, and you're like, it's not.
Oh, that's misinformation.
No. Yeah, it's even in the press release. They sent out a press release after the launch going, the new Electro was announced at BBC Television Centre. I'm like, but it's not.
Is that to make it sound like it made the national news?
I think it is to make it sound more important internationally, because it was BBC Television Centre. It's like, I mean, I still occasionally look at that, what's not relatively a very tall skyscraper in the City of London, and think it's the NatWest Tower, and it's not, because they moved out ages ago. But anyway.
They downsized.
Television industry pedantry aside, I went to the launch at TV Centre. It's still called that, and they'd rented out TC1, the biggest studio there, the one where they used to do Strictly Come Dancing and all of the big event type shows. Massive studio. It used to be the biggest TV studio in Britain.
Did it?
And for
TC1.
years it was the biggest TV before Fountain Studios.
Anyway, Twin Carb One.
Yeah. Rover 2200s TC1 studio. Yeah. They'd rented out that, but holy God, they'd thrown some money at it, because they've got cameras everywhere, all outside and all around the place. And apparently they had to bring in a separate outside broadcast lorry to handle it all, even though there's a 4K compatible gallery within the studio. So it was all a bit complicated and expensive, and lots of dancing and some videos played in with meaningless buzzwords all over them, and all sorts of stuff. And it was a lot of build up.
Fanfare. Would you call this a fanfare?
Fanfare. There was a fanfare, and I can kind of see why they do it, because it would be a bit weird just to go, okay, thanks everyone, thanks for coming, thanks for watching, wherever you are around the world, here's the car. It's like you need a bit of foreplay, basically, but it was expensive and quite confusing foreplay, I felt.
I didn't go. I was invited. I was busy. I couldn't really make it. And I've already seen the car, so I kind of went, well,
yeah,
I've already done my piece on it. It would have been nice to have met Jensen Button, but...
I didn't meet Jensen Button. Do you know who I did meet? I met Elisa Artioli.
Did you?
The woman who the Elise is named after.
The Lotus Elise is named after. Isn't she about 27 or something now? 30?
She's she's in her late 20s, I guess.
Yeah.
She is a qualified architect, although she actually runs driving days and driving tours now. She has a company that does that, so she's not a practicing architect.
I'd like her to design a garage for me.
She was amazing, though. They made her wear this slightly childish jumper with a teddy bear on the front, because one of the most famous pictures of her as a child. So the backstory is that her grandfather owned Lotus at the time, and he decided to name, although her name is Elisa, he decided to name the new Lotus sports car Project, or Type 111 as it was known. As he said, there's no way it's going into production with a number. It's not interesting enough. It needs a name, and I want to name it after my granddaughter. And there's a photo of him with her, and she was like 2.5 when the car was announced, and 4 by the time it went on sale. And she's wearing a teddy bear jumper in this picture of her as a child. So Lotus said to her, "Could you wear a teddy bear jumper for this event?" And they got one made, and it's not even an exact match to the one she was wearing in the photo. And she was sort of low-level disgruntled about the fact. She went, "I've had my makeup done twice today, and yet I've still got to wear this stupid jumper. I've got a dress in my bag. I could be wearing that." So I thought she was fantastic. She's Italian, so she's got that sort of, you know, Italians who speak excellent English, but they can do sort of insouciant fantastically well.
Yes,
she was that.
I like that.
She told me she gets on average 1 marriage proposal per day through the internet.
What?
From slightly horny Lotus fans.
Right.
I said, that's incredible. I can't believe that. And she went, I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? They don't know me. I could be crazy.
You don't marry first, then realise crazy after. I think that's not a wise idea. Although, thinking about this on a positive note, a teddy bear jumper is not as bad as it could have been. Imagine if the famous photo was her naked in the bath, like a lot of children's photos tend to be.
Well, those standard pictures that father of the bride always pulls out to embarrass the bride at weddings. That's
right. And then she now, 25 years later, she's wheeled onto the stage completely naked in a bath.
in an avocado-coloured bath.
That's right.
Yeah, it's exactly like the one my parents had at the time.
And just deadpan with a Madonna microphone and go, yes, and to celebrate the new dawning of Lotus, here is the new Electra, not electorate and not electoral, not illiterate.
Illiterate, the latest illiterate.
Not illegible. No, it's not that.
She also told me a story about that's the thing. She's really into cars, like really into cars. She bought the last Elise made. I mean, I presume they gave her a discount, but then she was going, I haven't got it yet. It's still at the factory for some reason. I really, really want it, and it's been delayed. And I was like, and I can't. And we said to her, "What? While you're over here in the UK, you could have gone and picked it up and driven it home." And she's like, "I know, but it's not registered yet. It's really frustrating." She was like, you could tell she's really excited about getting a new car, which is fair enough. But then she told me about her granddad, Romano Artioli. He also was behind the Bugatti EB110.
Yes.
Which sort of predates, like so I guess she said she was born in 91 or 92, and
when Roy Orbison was singing that he drove all night.
Yeah, that's maybe that was number one when she was born. Who knows? Yeah. Anyway, but she knows about that car from talking to her granddad, who's still alive, and but she said, oh yeah, that. Because he told her the story. He said when they said, the car's called the Type 111 at Lotus, and I said, no car, I'm not going to launch a car with a number, it's got to have a name. And she said, but you did the Bugatti EB110, which I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
She explained it's called the 110 because it was 110 years since Bugatti was founded, or since Bugatti was born.
But it wasn't successful.
It wasn't successful, but apparently the good story that she told me was when that car was revealed. I think it's in Paris. It was shown off, so they had to drive it up from the factory in Italy, and it was so unfinished, this first prototype show car, that they were working on it inside the lorry while it was driving across France to get to the reveal in Paris. Yeah.
Seriously?
That car was literally finished inside a moving lorry on the way to the reveal.
Can you imagine if there'd been some shady late braking going on the lorry?
I know. Well, that's the thing.
I mean, bloody hell, there'd be skulls crushed.
Yes.
But also massive panel damage. Like the car arrives and they hadn't quite chocked it properly or strapped it down. They go, yeah, goes on display tomorrow. It's like, yeah, the whole front's stoved in. So we're going to mix up a lot of resin tonight and some glass fibre. We're going to just see what we can do. Lock us in. Yeah, lock us in. We'll see what we can do.
We're flying in the guys from Reliance. They're the world leaders in bodging fiberglass together.
Bloody hell, that's really cool info. I like that.
Yeah, so that was all good.
Yeah,
that was one of my highlights of the evening. Also, I've got to give a little bit of a shout out to a couple of Smith and Sniff listeners. Two blokes called John and Richard, who are both Elise owners or former Elise owners, and or they have Evoras now, and they'd come along to the Electra launch and came over to say hi because they listened to the podcast. But the high spot of that conversation was when they explained how they know each other, which is they're in the same band, and the band is called the People's Front of Judea. Whoa. And they're a Life of Brian themed 80s covers band.
What?
I know, there's a lot to unpack, isn't there?
Wow.
They showed me a picture. One of them has got a guitar. He plays the guitar. He's a keyboardist, but he plays a guitar. He's got a wireless guitar, so he can go into the crowd.
Oh my gosh, a wireless guitar. That's some expenditure.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, it's like guitar's expensive alone, but wireless, yeah. So that's John plays guitar and keyboards, but they showed me a picture, and they're dressed like the characters from Life of Brian. what have the Romans ever done for us and all that. But then they play 80s hits, and I how you arrive at that, I don't know, but that's what they do. So hello to both of them.
Well, hi guys.
Thanks for coming and saying hi. Hi guys.
Hi guys.
Hi,
do you know what?
okay.
We could, instead of sort of doing a cheers, raising a glass to them, we could raise a glass of other product that I've got in my hand, Richard, that you might want to explain to the listeners. I'm going to tap it with my ring finger.
This is, well, there's a backstory to this, which I need to find the message for, and I can't find it now. This is as usual levels of profession. Here we go. Right, a listener called James Bourne wrote to us. His message just says, Johnny, Rich, I'll be brief. And then there's just a picture, and it's a picture of a bottle of aftershave.
Of course.
And then underneath he says, Brut do a sport variant. And it's a picture of Brut Sport style aftershave.
This is incredible, I have to say.
Now, if ever a podcast has a spirit aftershave, and there's no reason why any of them would, but this is ours because it's both Brut and Sport, and I had no idea this existed.
No, neither did I.
James says, I'll leave you to the marketing wranglings of the way Johnny slings it on. I think there's an opportunity for some kind of morning marination style branded kit.
Marination. Yeah, well, exactly.
This is extraordinary. So we immediately, as soon as I got this email, I forwarded it to you and went, holy shit, look at this. And then I went on Amazon. They sell it on there. I ordered 2 bottles, one each. They arrived yesterday.
100ml. It's in my hand. Jingle jangle. Do you know what? The thing I love about it is it's not just Brut Sport. It's Brut Sport style. It actually says style afterwards. Sport style.
Which is... In
other words, I haven't bought the Sport. I bought the Sport style because, cheaper tax and all that.
It feels like that's in the same spectrum as prawn cocktail flavour.
Yes,
you have to put the flavour there because otherwise they breach some kind of rules about food labelling.
Actual
this is sport style. It's not actual sport. It's sport style. It's blue.
It is. I like the blue.
Light blue. Is it teal blue maybe? So it's where normal Brut is green. This is
ski jacket. 80s ski jacket.
I've just opened it.
Right, we're going to do this, listeners. Ready?
It reminds me of something else.
Oh.
It's a bit Blue Stratos-y.
Yeah, it's tangy. It's tangy, that.
It's tangy, isn't it? I'm just going to...
I like that. Do you know what that's like? When you buy a different kind of screen wash to what you're used to for a top-up.
Actually, it does actually look like screen wash.
But in a good way. In a good way. I'm going to stick this on, Rich. You ready? I'm going to go for quite a good slug.
Go on.
Ready? Oh,
bloody hell.
Oh, man. I was dripping down the neck. Oh, I shaved this morning as well. That's absolutely... it's burning. It's good, though.
Excellent.
Do you know what? That is fresh. It's really
It's all right,
really
isn't
fresh.
it? But it's a very... Somehow that is a very 80s smell. Where Brut is kind of more 70s smell, but sports is that's definitely reminiscent.
I'm going to dress as Andre Agassi for the rest of the day now. I've decided. I'm definitely going to. That's really good. Well, Brut Sport
well, thank you, James,
style.
for tipping us off about that. Brut Sport style. It's uncanny. It's almost like it's an intersection of... If it said on that side of things on the back of the bottle, then it would be pretty much just.
Well, in the ingredients, is there some sort of chemical called Otsot that we don't know about? That would be amazing.
It turns out it's like the fixative thing they put into aftershave. Anyway, there we go. Every week is a learning experience, and last week's learning experience was that there exists Brut Sport. So thank you to James for tipping us off.
And quick message out to Unilever who own Brut. Can you just reply to my emails, please? I'm getting pissed off now.
Reply to any one of the 400 messages that Johnny's sent.
Come on.
Is it still Unilever? Oh, yeah, it is. It says on the back here.
It is Unilever, yeah.
Brut
Parfums Prestige and all that, Paris, 1965.
Never noticed there's a sort of a slightly pretentious crest on the top
There
of the
is a
cap.
crest. I like the crest. I don't know which way it goes, though. It's one of those ambidextrous crests.
It's well, maybe that's deliberate because it's circular.
While we're on the subject of sort of gentleman's additives,
yes.
I sent you a message. Well, I was on the road last week, Richard. I was doing a lot of road work to Scotland and back via various shoot destinations, and noticed at services a lot of a lot of blue pill machines in the gents' toilets. Now, I've actually never tried one of these pills, but as I was drying my hands and I looked over, I noticed there's loads of names now. One of them, which I wanted to take a picture of it, but taking a photo in a gents' public toilet is not cool, so I didn't do that.
Don't.
It was called Mendurance or Mendurance. Mendurance, like endurance, obviously, but with an M on the front. Mendurance, and the other one it was called Ultra Blue, and there was a picture of like a blue pill with loads of lightning strikes coming down from a dark sky. You know, like an 80s metal album cover. And I was thinking to myself, what has this market become? Is this
competitive? I think is the answer.
Is this the bloke equivalent of AdBlue? Are we being encouraged to add blue to ourselves?
No, because AdBlue cleans up your emissions. I don't know where you're going with this, but I don't like it.
No, I mean like it aids your performance. AdBlue's supposed to aid performance / emissions. You know, like.
Well, this is more like sort of Red X or something. Then
is it male Red X?
Yeah, because it's an octane booster.
It is an octane boost. You're absolutely right. So
so hang on. The market leader in this would be Viagra because everybody's heard of that.
Yes, was that the original?
So that's Red X. These are all ones that you would sort of find in a small independent provincial petrol station that have a very similar bottle design but are not Red X. They're something else.
Well, yeah, they're Mendurance and Ultra.
Mendurance. Imagine how pleased they were when they came up with that.
The thing is, I'm intrigued and also scared. I remember there was a few being thrown around on my stag do many moons ago, and I didn't go for it. I just had a sudden, even when I was a bit pissed, I had a sudden terror that if I took one and I didn't need to take one for medical reasons, that it might cancel out what I already have. Anyway. So I'd love to know from listeners. Has anybody got any kind of experience with the male AdBlue stuff?
Yeah, I must admit I've never tried them, and I know someone who has because he got given one again, sort of not in a stag do situation.
Stag do.
I've got one of these. Do you want to try one? So he did, and I think I seem to remember him saying he just sort of gave him a kind of uncontrollable lob on for longer than was convenient, and
I think that's the point, though, is it not?
Well, it probably is, but if you've taken it just out of context, i.e. you're not engaged in congress with someone else, that you've just got an uncomfortable power bulge
panhandle
for longer than you would want. Yeah, which I don't know. I'd just worry that you'd discover that you'd got an undiagnosed heart condition.
Yeah. See, there you go. It's the underlying fear of like, I didn't really need to take it and I've done it now and now I'm being punished. So
I don't know if they would bring on a heart condition though. I don't actually know how they work.
What I would do if I did it and I had no use of doing it, I would just start seeing about whether you could like open a really stiff door with it, or whether you could push a car on a gravel drive with it, stuff like that.
Or like a mate of mine when we were teenagers got caught by his mum seeing if he could hang his school blazer off it.
Oh yeah, exactly that. You know, throw a beach towel into the bath, let it get very heavy and wet, and then see if that bad boy hangs.
Anyway, the Lotus Electra.
Yeah.
As I said, I went to the launch event for that, and it was quite interesting. But what I was going to say, because obviously you've had a good look at that car, and you interviewed the man partly responsible for it, and then I was in a cab on the way home from the launch event, and I was like, oh, I'll have a little look at Twitter, and then I thought, no, I won't actually, because I can't be bothered to look at everyone going, oh, it's not a proper Lotus, it's too heavy.
There's lots of that. There's lots of that.
And it's just very sort of path of least resistance thinking, isn't it? And I just think, yeah, of course, I mean, but here's an interesting thing about that car. It's not a Lotus. And I don't mean that because it's an SUV or because it is necessarily quite heavy because it's a battery electric vehicle, but that car's designed by Lotus Technology, which is not Lotus Cars. That's why it was done at their place in Coventry. Lotus Technology is a separate company, also owned by Geely, but part owned as well by NIO, the Chinese EV company.
Yeah, that's right.
And the Electra was styled in Coventry at the Lotus Technology place there. It was engineered in Coventry, and they've got a place in Germany, and I guess some work was done in China. It's going to be built in China. Lotus Technology is basically a Chinese electric vehicle company that has bases all around the world and uses the Lotus name, but is not Lotus Cars, which is based in Hethel and which did the Elise and will shortly make the Emira. Separate company. I mean, obviously, they want to use the association, and they wheeled out Russell Carr, the chief designer of Lotus Cars, to talk about all these design philosophies they've got, and to try and make the link between the Evecha and the Emira. Evecha. But actually, I could see a little bit of commonality, but also Russell Carr was, I thought, slightly too keen to make clear that the Electra was designed in Coventry under Ben Payne's team and not by his team. And I think there is definitely a sort of separation there, because Lotus Technology is a separate company. This is almost like we're back to when there were two Lotus F1 teams. It's like there are multiple Lotuses, and Lotus Cars over in Hethel had, as far as I can figure out, little to nothing to do with the Electra. It's a Lotus in name alone. It's a Chinese electric car that piggybacks on the Lotus name, and that's fine. It's all for the greater good. It feeds into Lotus. If Geely can use what they bought and is therefore rightfully theirs to do as they see fit, whatever enthusiasts think, then fair enough. If it then allows them to funnel money back into Lotus Cars to make interesting sports cars,
exactly,
fair play. But the point is, when people go, oh, it's not a true Lotus, I was thinking, well, actually, it's not a Lotus at all. It's a Chinese electric car, part engineered in Coventry in Germany.
And also, like you say, as long as there's some sports car funneling going on, I totally get it. And
also just sort of spreading the word of Lotus around the world, because I think it's possible to make. So obviously, it's aimed at China, but I think they've got ambitions to sell it and make a success of it in America.
I've sold two of them off the back of my video. I know I have, because I had people contact me.
Have you?
I had two people who have registered their interest or put a deposit down, whatever you can do at this stage. Yeah,
Do you know where these people were based? Like where in the world they are?
Both UK. Both of them.
That's
and they're both really hungry for it. Because the way they looked at it was like, well, 100 grand is okay. Obviously, 100 grand's a lot of money, but 100 grand is a well stocked Range Rover, or medium stocked actually, probably medium stocked Range Rover nowadays.
It's not. I mean, the new Range Rover I think starts at 90-ish grand.
Okay, so a base model, full size Range Rover.
Yeah,
and obviously all the other things within the realm of this are pretty much piston. I mean, the things like Urus and SQ8 and all those cars, they're all big piston things, which as a car you'd use every day with maybe family orientated stuff, it's sort of outdated now, I think. I mean, I that's my opinion. If you were to go out and buy a brand new Urus now, you're a complete twat.
I don't think you needed to use the word now there.
3 years ago. But I think that in that way of it, it's just like, well, what's this for? Because like, you just have a V12 for a weekend car, and a weekend car isn't an SUV. Nobody polishes and puts an SUV in a garage. I just don't think they do. So it's not a sports car that you cherish in that way. It's a car that you're trying to make do everything, and it can't do everything. So just stop being a twat. You've got enough money to buy two cars, so just buy two cars.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's why I've always been quite enthusiastic about the Range Rover, not to the extent I bought one, because it's I know you call it an SUV, but it's not sporty.
No.
The full-size Range Rover doesn't try to be sporty. No. It is soft and boaty and comfy, and that's exactly why it's brilliant, because it's not trying to do something. Because that's the thing, you can't, even the best of those sporty, inverted commas, SUVs, like the Range Rover Spalt or the Cayenne or the Macan, they're still not as nice to drive as a sports car. They're fighting physics. And, you're absolutely right. Have something nice in the garage that you polish. But then an SUV is a sort of working car that does family duties and hauls dogs around and all that sort of stuff, and that's fine. Do you know what? Actually, now you've said that, I've realised the biggest rival to the Electra that you can actually buy right now is the Tesla Model X, isn't it?
Yeah, it
that's
is.
Sort of, it's always described as an SUV, although it just looks like a fat hatchback. But
yeah,
it is,
it's exactly
it's 100 odd grand,
and it's fast if you want it to be.
And it's fast,
and it's
and
a techno masterpiece. If you like, if you like tech and software, yeah. So in a way, it's not in a crowded marketplace. It's in a marketplace which should be crowded, but it's sort of not.
You put it like that. Also, I would rather have the Electra than a Model X, just because I think it's nicer looking.
I agree. I think it probably feels more sporty. The Model X has got loads of merits on its own, but I think looks is not one of those. Yes, it can guff when you indicate, and it does gullward. And
it's getting old, isn't it? It's just
it is quite an old car now. That's the thing. It is quite an old car.
There's a lot of tech on the electoral reform, isn't there? And it's kind of stuff that, it's another indicator that it's a car that's very much aimed at China, is that it's got those pop-out LiDAR things, and it's that's because the rules on autonomy in China apparently a bit different, and it's definitely that's geared towards what's coming up in the Chinese market. But I feel like it's supposed to be going on
pop-up
sale.
John Lydon. You just press a button and he just starts shouting and pointing, tell everyone that the Queen's an idiot. And
I can't hear the word LiDAR without thinking it's some kind of contraction of lie detector. Like your car's just driving along, sort of picking up pedestrians going, he's talking shit, she's full of shit, what's going on there? That's bollocks. What's she on about there? He's talking nonsense.
That's right. Before I was selling phones, I was an Olympian. No, you weren't. You weren't.
He didn't have trials for QPR. He's talking bollocks.
Though maybe it is. It's a lie detector. That would actually be more entertaining.
It's a lie detector.
For me.
It would, wouldn't it? It just pops out and you go, I wonder if any of these people in this town centre are full of absolute dog plop.
Bobbins, yeah.
What was I saying? Anyway, yes. Oh, no, loads of tech on that car. And it's going on sale in beginning of 2023. So not long. Now, those cars they'd got on show at the launch, and I guess the silver one on the main stage was the one that you poked round. Because it moves, doesn't it? And I saw it in your video. Does
yes.
But it's not the finished car underneath, from what I can gather. It's a show car.
Yeah, correct.
And I don't know that the other two they had outside TV Centre moved under their own power. I didn't see them do that. Maybe they do. I don't know. But they definitely all were just sort of, basically like motor show things, which is pretty standard. But I guess the real car is not finished yet, and there's a lot of technology on it. So they're going to have a busy year getting that ready, I suspect.
Absolutely.
But anyway, more power to them. I think that's the thing. If it feeds back into Lotus and makes Lotus a sort of successful, proper, profitable car company, that's all fine. And when people go, Colin Chapman wouldn't approve, I always think, well, yeah, actually he probably would, because all he wanted to do was make his company successful and make money. Yeah. And his plans when he died involved making four-door saloons and all sorts. And apparently there's pictures of him with his kids when they were little, and they're in Range Rovers. So Chapman was an SUV fan as well, as it turns out, bizarrely.
That's really interesting. I like that.
So the Colin Chapman argument doesn't hold water. And anyway, it's 2022, and he's no longer.
Colin Chapman used to love wasting money, from what I could read.
Yeah,
I think he just used to fly a helicopter everywhere, just throwing £10 notes out of it.
Well, anyway, there we go. So that's it. I had just these thoughts about the Electra.
I think it's a good-looking car. I think whether it's the sort of genre you'd buy or not is another question. But if you look at it as a product that they're looking to sell and they want mass adoption of, and it brings the badge into a wider audience, power to them. I think there's a lot to like about it as a thing. Now, on that side of things,
we've got.
Although add lightness, it's not add lightness really. Add LiDAR,
I know.
Add lightness.
But apart from that, people always get that quote wrong, because I think the actual quote was simplicate rather than simplify, which is a weird word. But also, Chapman didn't say that; he nicked it. He nicked it from an American engineer whose name I can't remember now, but he wasn't the originator of that saying. So
and the original saying was add blue, not add lightness. He was referring to small pills that make your winky bigger.
See, I thought it was add lighters because he was a very keen smoker.
Oh, that's
and he just wanted, he's just like, just put a couple more in the door bin and one in the ashtray. I hate not being able to find one.
I love that. Yeah, you'd have a really, really lithe sports car, but it has 6. It's only a 2-seater. It's got 6 fag lighters in it. What's
There's one in the roof. They're in the doors. There's one in the middle of the steering wheel. It's amazing.
The perfect for the toking helmsman.
Yes.
Whichever way your head looks when you're sat in the cabin, you will always find.
Anyway, guys, look, we've got some unfinished business, which is the engine capacity game that started 2-3 weeks ago. A listener called Peter Alfred, who said, I'm hoping this will frustrate and intrigue you as much as it has me. This thought has been on my mind for years. What is the car with the largest difference between the smallest and largest engine available?
This was a well-subscribed question.
Yeah, we had lots of response to this, and I've made an absolutely cack-fisted attempt to correlate some of the replies. So Peter identified that he thought it was the W204 Mercedes C-Class, which was available with a 1.6 four-cylinder up to a 6.2-litre V8, making a difference of 4.6 litres.
That's a lot. That is a lot. There's a big difference.
Side note here, in Peter's original message, which we did read out 3 shows ago, or whatever, he said it must be production cars, so things like the W12 Concept Golf also don't count. So a couple of people who wrote in and went, what about the Golf? There's a W12 Concept. You win our Not Listening Properly award for this week.
Yeah.
I won't read out these people's names, but
Man
honestly,
Listening Award.
Clean out your ears.
Yeah.
So no concepts. That's cheating. I think I mentioned, or you mentioned, the current BMW 7 Series as close because you can get a 2-litre up to 6-litre V12. After we'd recorded, I remembered that the V12 is actually 6.6.
Oh.
So it gives it the same 4.6-litre spread as that Merc. But then some people have pointed out that if you do the precise CCs, the Merc still wins.
There must have been a Dodge truck. Someone mentioned a Dodge truck.
Yes,
I'm sure.
Well, quite a few people did. I'll give you a couple. Paul Russell said he disappeared down an internet rabbit hole of vehicles with the engine from the Dodge Viper. The Dodge Ram pickup had a 3.7-litre V6 at the low end, and the SRT 10 variant had the 8.3-litre V10 from the Viper. Also a difference of 4.6 litres. So we've now got 3 cars. Plenty of people pointed out that Ram. Alex Rolton was another listener who said it's the 4.6-litre gap.
That's a dangerous, daft car, that SRT Ram.
Just pointless. So that was that. Now, there's a listener called Ed Nicholson who thought he'd come up with a 5-litre spread, which is the Chevrolet Camaro, 2-litre turbo up to 7-litre V8.
Oh.
But Steward's inquiry, this is disqualified because
different eras.
Those 2 engines, different eras. The last generation, you could get the 7-litre LS7 V8 in it, but not this generation. And this generation is the one where you can get the 2-litre turbo. So that is not admissible.
Yes.
Ed saved his bacon, though, by suggesting the 68 Mustang. I haven't checked this one, but I assume that he's right, that the 68 Mustang came with a 3.3-litre inline 6 and a 7-litre V8, which makes...
Could you get 7 litres in 68? So what would that...
I don't know.
What engine was that? The 450 watt cubic inch?
Ed says it's the 428.
Oh, the 420. That wasn't in 68, I don't think. I think that was 69 or 70.
Oh, Ed.
I think.
Hang on.
I don't know this categorically because.
No, I'm not good on this. So I just took Ed's word for it there because I want to spare his blushes after the Camaro incident.
Well, but you know what? He's thought it through longer than I did, which is really good.
See, I thought I'd cracked this because we had a few people. There's a guy called Sean Hamilton being one of them who suggested the AC Ace / Cobra.
Yes,
which was a 2-litre.
Yeah,
as the Ace, and then a 7-litre in the Cobra. Now
427. Yeah.
Steward's inquiry there as well, because you go, well, the Ace and the Cobra is not strictly the same car, though obviously they're very heavily related. But I realised the Cobra alone is a good entry because not that long ago they did those continuation cars, and you could have it with a 2.3 litre Fords engine in it.
What, a 4-cylinder Folds?
Yeah.
Could you?
2.3 EcoBoost.
Really?
And it's over 7 litres. So that gives you your 4.7 litre spread, which puts it in contention, I would say.
Gosh, I didn't know that. The 2.3 and all that EcoBoost.
And all that. Now we've got an outlier here from Stefan Davis, who is pitching the W212 Mercedes because it went from 1.6 up to the Brabus EV12.
Okay.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of variables here.
There's a lot of variables. Also, the CLK he's including the CLK GTR, which had the 7.3 litre V12. Again, see, the GTR wasn't. It's I'm not buying that. I'm not sold. Now, there's a couple of people, and they're both called Jamie, who came in from right out of left field. The first one is Jamie Fretwell, who we know, who's the PR manager for Mercedes trucks in the UK.
That's right.
And Jamie says, regarding the displacement question, you suggested Mercedes-Benz as having the largest difference, and you're right, but not with the C-Class. On the truck side of things, the current generation Mercedes-Benz Actros can be ordered with a 7.7 litre engine or a 15.6 litre.
Oh.
So that's a 7.9 litre difference. It's very good. But then a listener called Jamie Webb
chimed in, says
this might be classed as cheating, but the current Scania R series goes from 6.7 litre straight six to 16.4 litre V8.
Hang on, is it the Scania R series, like arse?
Yeah,
arse.
No, not R series. No. Scania R series. Anyway, that's a 9.7 litre difference. Unfortunately, Peter's original message said car. What is the car with the largest difference between small and largest? So I'm afraid
Rich,
there's a double Jamie disqualification there.
Heavily.
Although it's very good. Anyway, look, we could go on this. We had so many messages, and I've just tried to pick out a few, but I think we have got a really solid, rule-compliant entry here from Richard Ingleby, who says, following Peter's game of biggest capacity difference, I think a Peerless Model 6 is the contender.
A Peerless?
So he's gone old school. Peerless. The basic Billy being 415 cubic inches, which is 6.8 litres. The big engine option was 825 cubic inches, which is 13.5 litres.
Bloody hell.
Gives you a 6.7 litre spread.
That's an amazing spread.
In the absence of anything that fully meets the rules, because it's like some random special, or it's a Brabus, or it's a lorry, then I think Richard Ingleby is our current leader/winner in the car capacity game.
I like that.
But thank you to everyone who wrote in. I apologise if you did something better and I've just lost it, because my email management is crap. But on that, if you do want to drop us a note about this or anything, it's hello@smithandsniff.com.
Yeah. If you're, for example, let's just say you're Unilever, and you want to talk to us about a partnership with your brand Brut Sport style, you can get in touch.
Well, that's that. But yes, write to us about anything you fancy, or become a patron at our Patreon page, patreon.com/Smith and Sniff. We don't have tiers or any kind of complex system like that. You can just chuck us £1 a month or more if you're feeling generous, and you can message us through that, or you get to see extra content like show notes. And last week you got a bonus eating lunch in a car video, which wasn't available to the normals. So we do occasionally do little bits and pieces like that as well,
which would have been quite loud with chewing and swallowing of food. So
I think
it's not an attractive proposition. But anyway,
it's worse on audio, though, isn't it? Audio only.
That's true. That's true. Can I just want to throw in a quick one about you said you'd bought another car the other week. I did as well. I just wanted to keep
still waiting for it, by the way.
Are you?
It's been I'm getting to the point where I'm like, does this car really exist? Except that they've now sent me the reg number, and I've checked, and it's, according to DVLA, is a real car. But
is it OT-SOT is the number plate? I'd like that.
The reg, yes, it's ABC123. It was supposed to. It's a feeblest excuse, but the supplying dealer went, "Oh yeah, one of our lorries has broken down, and it's thrown all of our delivery schedule out of whack, so could we postpone it?" So it was supposed to be here last week. It's now supposed to be turning up next week. No, this week actually. So well, I don't know.
Well,
soon.
Very soon. Well, I bought a car. I bought one of my old cars back, Richard, and it's an economical car. I revealed to my Patreons on my the YouTube channel that I've bought back my Honda Insight first generation. My green spaceship, as the kids used to call it.
Which is the one that you sold to Honda themselves.
I sold it to Honda.
Museum car.
Yeah, so Honda. It was a Honda demonstrator car when it was first new. Then it got bought by a guy who was apparently very large, who used to do a massive commute from Somerset to Reading and back every day. And it racked up an enormous mileage, which is why it was a high mileage car. Honestly, I've got three very grey vinyl Honda folders of service history with this car. Yeah. And then I eventually sold it back to Honda Heritage, but then they never did anything with it because they had a very low mileage one, which was always their preference. And I discovered during lockdown that it sort of was sitting forlorn, and I kept badgering them, saying, listen, can I have it back? Can I buy it back? And eventually they caved in, and I've got it back. So I'm now going to get it back on the road. It's been sat for about 3 years, so I've got to just check it, and I'm now...
Is that not good for a car with a battery?
Not good.
Presumably?
No, not good. No. But I'm fully in the forums now, and there's some hacks, as the kids would say, and I'm actually performing said hacks over the next 3 or 4 days.
I mean, it does. Presumably, it runs, does it? It works.
It ran and drove, despite the fact nobody had touched it for maybe 3 years. They put a battery on it, and it just started up and ran and drove. But
that's a Honda. I said that to my dentist last week, or dental hygienist. I had to go and have my teeth cleaned, and every time I do, the lady is in an ongoing car buying dilemma, and she's sort of settled with my advice on a Honda CR-V, but then she was having second thoughts. She's like, is it the right thing to get? Do you think it's the right thing to get? Very hard to give car advice when someone's got seemingly both their hands in your mouth.
Yeah, I would say so.
Do you think I'm doing the right thing? Yeah. But when she stopped rubbing plaque off my teeth, she said, do you think that Honda's the right thing? I just went, look, yes, because if you want a reliable car, just buy a Honda.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout.
Although I must give a shout out. There's a chap called Connor, who I was talking to on Twitter, who went to go and look at an Accord Type R, then had a breakdown in his current Civic, and the Accord Type R turned out to be no bueno. So older Honda's not necessarily a dream ticket.
I think he's the first person in the world to have experienced that. So Honda are going to be...
I know, that's the thing. He's almost like he's some kind of lightning rod for Honda unreliability. But although in fairness, it was just a perished hose that disabled his Civic. And he's now bought a Civic Type R. The reason I mentioned Connor is I just want to say thank you to him, because I was clearing out my old computer and I found... a column I used to write for Top Gear magazine, a spoof called Simon Moistborn, who was supposed to be a sort of inept local car journalist, and I'd sort of forgotten about this, and we did it for about 3 years.
Bloody
and then
hell.
Connor piped up on Twitter and he said, I used to cut those out and keep them, because he initially believed it was a real person, and he was intrigued by this incredibly tragic accident-prone character, and he kept all these columns, and he's still got them. And I haven't got all of them. I've got a few of them that I kept the original documents.
Gosh, I stopped keeping my old material ages ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull everything together, because I'd got bits that were sort of stored on my Dropbox and bits that weren't, and then bits that are on old computers that have long gone. But anyway, so I just want to say thank you to Connor for sending me some pictures of old columns that I wrote. It's like having a weird out-of-body experience. Going, did I do that? I don't remember that. Anyway, you bought your Insight back. Did you?
The Sight Beyond Insight. Yeah.
This is going to be your daily hack, then?
Yeah, this is going to be my my sort of recession-resistant, ultra-frugal, and definitely a modern classic thing. But it's my... I always regretted selling it, but I sold it because I was doing the school run with 2 kids more often, and now the kids go to different schools, so I'm only ferrying them one at a time typically. And I thought, and also for doing shoots and stuff, it's it can be an 80 to the gallon plus car, and there's loads of modifications that perverts are doing to them. So I actually think now's a great time to get it back on the road, and I did chuckle when everyone's going on about add lightness and all that with the Lotus elaborate. No, what's it called? Eloquent. Eloquence.
General election.
Yes, people going on about lightness. Well, that car's 850 kilos, as you probably remember, and that was the world's first mass-produced hybrid with a battery on board. Obviously, 850 keys. Really joyful to drive. So I can't wait to get it back on the road. It deserves to live again. It's done 340,000 or 330,000 miles. So it hasn't done many miles in the last sort of 8 years. But
can I just push I am actually wearing my glasses at the moment. I pushed them up my nose. Was it the world's first mass-produced hybrid? Did the original Prius not beat it to the punch there?
No, I think it beat it, but the Prius gets the column inches cause 4-seater and people just adopted it quicker and also look more conventional. I'm pretty sure the Insight came first, but now you're making me worried because you're an intelligent man.
Someone will write in. But no, what I was going to say is, was the Insight built on the old NSX production line or alongside it?
It was built alongside it.
Because the NSX would have still been in production at that
point,
wasn't it? So,
the later one. Yeah, it was. So it was made. I mean, undoubtedly a lost leader. They only sold 250 UK cars. So so a UK Insight is actually quite a rare beast now.
Yeah.
And
bloody hell.
Yeah, I know. And so I kept the brochure for it. Weirdly, I found it in my filing cabinet with all my car service history bits for the others, and I was like, I've got to have this car back. So I've got brakes for it. I've got a hack to check the battery pack. I'm going to convert it to FEV to plug in. You can add all sorts of little mods to it. I'm very much looking forwards to it. And,
that's excellent.
Yeah, for sure.
New cars all round.
Yes,
with
hurrah
electricity us. In them. Hurrah us! My Porsche's gone though. That's all sold. All happened.
Oh, has it?
Man came and took it away. Yeah. So that's easy come, easy go. So I've got. But the E-Up's coming, so that's exciting. If it ever friggin' turns up.
Wow.
First world problems. Here we go. We should probably wrap this up, because we've been talking for ages. But before we go, got 3 things to tell you. They are: 1, Johnny has a solo YouTube channel called The Late Break Show. Lots of excellent videos on there, including a walk around of the Lotus Electrolux with Ben Payne, the man who masterminded it in some part.
Yeah, I've got some good shit coming up that I shot in Scotland.
He's got some good shit. Yeah. 2, I've got various books out. One of them is called Boring Car Trivia. 3, it's full of just boring car trivia, as it says on the front. Still not got the hang of this marketing lot. And the 3rd thing I've got to tell you is that we all probably know the song What's Love Got to Do With It, which is very famously recorded by Tina Turner, but it wasn't written by her, and in fact it was originally recorded by Bucks Fizz.
Really?
Yeah, it was written by Terry Britton and Graham Lyle, who also wrote We Don't Need Another Hero.
Gosh.
Terry Britton wrote Devil Woman for Cliff Richard, and he offered What's Love Got to Do With It to Cliff Richard, who turned it down, and then they gave it to Bucks Fizz.
I suspect it's because Cliff Richard heard the keyboard solo and went, I'm not going down that route, that's awful.
It's not.
And
for
I
me.
would have agreed.
Not
I would
me.
have personally agreed with that. I think it's an awful,
What, you mean?
awful. It sounds like the incidental music on Steptoe and Son. That just
Do you mean the intro? The
No. Halfway through What's Love Got to Do With It, there's this just terrible, terrible keyboard that just comes in out of nowhere, like it's a studio next door and it's not even connected to the song. I hate it. It makes me hate the song.
Anyway, thanks ever so much for listening. We'll do this all again next week.
Yeah.
Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye. Electro.